Why do I keep getting triggered all the time? Things just irritate me and I can't take it anymore. This is Dr. Spencer Coaches. Today, I'm going to talk to you about why you get triggered all the time. You see, we have a certain size stress bucket, and when that stress bucket gets filled, we feel overwhelmed. And anything added onto it will become the straw to break the camel's back. So when your stress bucket is very small or it's always filled, you're going to lose resilience. You're going to lose ability to think clearly. You're going to lose your ability to make sound decisions. I'll give you an example of my own life. When I first opened my practice, I was working about 60 to 70 hours a week. And I had to, it was the first time being a business owner, being a manager, and having employees and having people work under me. I learned the hard way. And I was really dead set on practicing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and going to classes. But I also dedicated 3 hours every week to do some marketing, which was called spinal screening. And what happened was I was so interested in studying Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I lost track of my own marketing and my business began to drop. So I had to cut back on my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu classes and start marketing more. And what I found was I was becoming really stressed out, working 60 hours a week. And I made it work. I did it, but I was always on edge. I was a very intense person. And I had no real satisfaction or fulfillment. It was just on to the next thing, one thing to another, to another, to another. There was no time to rest. It was like my car was constantly on the gas, my foot was constantly on the gas pedal with no brakes. Eventually, the motor's going to wear out. You're going to run out of gas. That's what happened to me. As the stress built up, I became more irritable, mostly towards my employees. I became a very poor manager, very poor team leader. And it even started to impact the way my patients perceived me. Because my new patients would come in and they'd see me, what's wrong with this guy? He seems irritated. He should be caring and concerned about my circumstance, and he's just irritable. And it really affected even my friendships. I began to snap at people, became really judgmental, and I didn't know why until I learned about trauma. And I realized I have trauma in my history. And what that does is it creates a sense of hypervigilance. It basically makes the nervous system, there's something called the flight or fight system. We may be familiar with that term, the flight or fight response. And it's basically when you're under a lot of stress, that same response happens. So when that response happens over and over and over again, it's only going to work so many times until it fails, until you just numb out, until you flip out, till you freeze. And it all depends on your resilience. Now, some people have trauma and they're just resilient and they adapted in their early years and it doesn't really bother them. While others, they have trauma and it leaves an emotional scar. And that emotional wound usually gets buried in the subconscious mind until later on in life, when you get a lot on your plate, when that flight or fight system is activated again, the trauma begins to come to the surface and the hypervigilance starts all over again. The hypervigilance is someone who's really intense, always on edge, always looking around, like where's the danger coming from, always paranoid, always suspicious. And it's kind of like really, talks really intense and kind of, you can tell they're on edge all the time, like they're about to snap, a ticking time bomb, so to speak. And that's just because of your stress bucket. You need to reset the stress bucket. You need to reset the nervous system. You got to find time to relax. Now, that doesn't mean just cover it up with drinking and partying or going to the fanciest restaurant. It really is about your nervous system, your brain, processing the circumstances efficiently and effectively. In other words, coming to a state of completion. And this is what healing is about. When your brain comes to a state of completion, your psyche, your mind, you feel at peace. You're really searching for a state of inner peace. And when you have that inner peace, that calm, abiding mind, you can think clearly. You can make decisions clearly. You can execute decisions and turn them into action more effectively, with enthusiasm, with vitality, with a willingness to wake up every day looking forward to the day, not dreading the day. So when you feel overwhelmed, it's because there's just too much on your plate. In other words, you're not prioritizing your workflow. Every successful person has a daily goal, because your daily goal is going to meet your weekly goal. Your weekly goal is going to meet your monthly goal. Your monthly goal is going to meet your quarterly goal. And your quarterly goal is going to meet your yearly goal. So that everything starts with the daily goal. And the problem with a lot of people is they don't prioritize their day. So when you go to do things, it feels like a big ball of chaos. Nothing gets done. You look back, you did all this work, yet nothing got done. Because you're doing things that weren't really necessary. When you prioritize your day, you'll find out there's only 2 to 3 things that are absolutely necessary to get done that day. The morning of that day, in fact. It's both important and urgent. And then you begin to delegate after that things that are important but don't need to get done right away. You schedule out. The things that need to get done right away but aren't that important, you delegate. And that's a part of leadership. It's your leadership. It's your ability to organize your workflow, to create efficiency in your day so you don't feel overwhelmed. I began to do that. I was able to take Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu classes, hang out with friends, go out on dates, and still get my marketing done and manage my practice. Once I started to organize my workflow, it became manageable. And this is what I mean, the term manageable. When things become manageable, your stress bucket is going to increase. Your ability to handle stress will go up because you're not going to perceive it as a threat. See, anytime you feel challenged, it's not just a challenge. Like a challenge is something you look at as, I can do this. It's going to be challenging, but I can do this. I can learn as I go. I'll figure it out as I go along. I got what it takes. I may not know exactly what I need to do now to win the game, but I'm going to play to the best of my ability and be better than who I was yesterday, and I'll win the game. You believe that you can win the game. You believe you can succeed in whatever you apply yourself to. But then you have an action plan, and you stick to it. This is today's game plan. And when you don't have a game plan, you're just out there playing with no purpose. It's going to feel like balls are flying at you from every direction. People are going to be demanding. People will come across as demanding. Now, what do you want? Now what? Now I got to do this. Oh, boy, you're going to drag your feet around. And that's when you know you're at your stress bucket limit. When you feel like you're dragging your feet around, when you feel like you're getting irritable, you've reached the limit of your stress bucket. And that's when you know you need to back off. Look, now is not the right time to have this discussion. Now is not the right time to make this decision. You may think of just hitting the bar after work, or even going to the golf course. A healthier way of dealing with your stress. The point is your stress got to a level where it became unbearable. And how do you prevent that? Let's start there first, before we figure out ways to relieve the stress. Take mini staycations, you know what I mean? Look, just stay in your local area and go to a nice restaurant, go to a day spa, visit a nice touristy spot, whether it's a tall building, whether it's a hiking spot, whether it's a well-known restaurant, whether it's a museum. Spend a day doing touristy things in your own area. It'll feel like a vacation. But before that, you've got to learn to organize your day. Because when you organize your day and you prioritize your day, you're not going to feel so overwhelmed. And at the end of the day, you're not going to feel like you did a lot of work yet didn't get anything done. When you're on top of things, bang, 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 you nail things out and you get things done. On to the next thing. You don't have to think about anything being undone. At the end of the day, when you look back and realize you forgot to do something, So the next day you look back and, wow, did I forget to do something? What did I forget to do? What did I do? And you're trying to think of everything you needed to get done. You're still not sure that you got everything done that you could get done. And it's not just a checklist of 10 things to do. There's only 2 to 3 things to do. I get this from the Eisenhower Matrix. That's what works for my day. Try the Eisenhower Matrix. There's plenty of YouTube videos out there on it. I made a video about it too. You can look at back on one of my videos. So you prioritize, find out what's important and urgent, find out what is urgent yet not important, and find out what's important but not urgent. And organize your tasks around that. And at the end of the day, you know you got done what needed to get done. You know you've done everything you could do. And it doesn't matter if something is done. It doesn't have to be done today. It could be done by the end of the week. It's not important right now. It's not urgent. If something isn't important and urgent, you don't even have to think about. This is a problem where people dwell in, is the unimportant, not urgent things, such as are your nails done? Or, how shiny are your shoes? Or did you get that Starbucks coffee? It's not important and it's not urgent. You just look at the important and urgent things. There's only 2 to 3 things to do. And then you delegate, and then you schedule out the rest of the things. And when you go through that list at the end of the day, you know you got everything done that needed to get done for that day. Let tomorrow worry about tomorrow. You have another set of priorities for tomorrow. Another set of things to delegate, set of things to schedule out. And when you're able to maintain that workflow day in and day out, the weekly goal gets done. You're not going to take Friday's work home with you. You're not going to be working on Friday's work on Monday morning just to catch up. You're not going to be working late Friday night so you can have the weekend off. Everything gets done by the end of Friday, or whatever week that maybe Saturday's end of your week. Whatever week, weekly schedule you have set up, it's done at the end of the week. You don't have to look back, because at the end of every day, you've got everything done you needed to get done. You've delegated what you needed to delegate, and you've scheduled out what needed to be scheduled, and it's done by the end of that day. Every daily goal is met. You don't have to worry about anything. And when you're not worried about things, your mind is clear. So when your workflow is done, when your wife, or if you're a woman, your husband, or your family person, your children are screaming and yelling, demanding something from you, you're not going to feel overwhelmed. You're not going to dread going home. I mean, how many men are in a silent divorce? They dread going home. They go to the bar before they go home. How many wives can't stand their husband coming home late, wondering where are they? How come I had to do all this? I had to do laundry. I had to take care of the kids. And wondering, how come my husband doesn't help me? Where is he? You're not going to feel that. When your responsibilities are clear and you stay on top of things, you get it done. You don't have to think about it. You leave work at work. So when you're with your family, you could be 100% with your family. And when you do everything, you manage your family the same way. What's prioritizing? What's most important to get done in the evening or on the weekend with my family? What can I delegate out? What can I have my children do? What are the chores around the house? What can me and my wife partner up in doing and make sure they get done? Delegate. And when you stay on top of everything, then you go back to work refreshed. Work on Monday as you look forward to it. You're not, wow, the weekend was exhausting. Now I got another exhausting week. When you're exhausted, you're burnt out. Your nervous system is frayed. You're at your edge. Your stress bucket is filled. And this is how you keep that stress bucket. Increase your stress bucket size or lower the content of that stress bucket. And then on the weekend, enjoy the weekend. Do what brings joy into your life. Real joy, real happiness. What makes you smile from ear to ear. That's how you deal with getting triggered all of the time. So you don't get triggered all the time. Now, beyond that, often getting triggered indicates you have trauma. When you have trauma, there's emotional dysregulation. You have emotional wounds that are coming to the surface that your conscious mind hasn't dealt with yet. You don't know how to deal with them. That's when you need a professional. You need someone to listen to what you're going through who understands. Because these emotions are scary to experience, to feel, to become aware of. It's your shadow. Abandonment wounds, low self-worth, self-doubt, the pain of the anger, rage, fear, guilt, and shame, the agony, the anguish, the terror, the helplessness. These are not pleasant feelings. You need someone to navigate them with you so you better understand them. So you learn how to regulate your emotions through specific techniques that I can teach you. I can help you do this because when you have trauma, your leadership, your commitment is going to wane. When you have trauma, your stress bucket becomes smaller. Your ability to deal with things, it's going to hinder your ability to be a high performer. Everything is going to irritate you. Everything's going to bother you. And you become a ticking time bomb. You don't want that to happen. You weren't born to stay at the same level your entire life. Find out what's holding you back so you can clear it out of the way and learn the strategies you can apply in your life so you can get ahead. Go ahead and leave a comment below so I can engage you and find out what it is you're looking for so we can set up a complimentary discovery session where I can listen to what it is you want to create for yourself, find out what challenges you're experiencing so we can create a plan together to get you to where you want to be in life so you can experience the abundance, the freedom, and the fulfillment you were meant to experience. This is Dr. Spencer Coaches. Thank you so much for listening.